Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. Before we get started, I'd like to invite all of you that still haven't subscribed to my channel and would like to see my videos in your home feed to please click that subscribe button. Now let's get started with today's story. This post is from the subreddit Relationships and it's by user Sarah J800. My 22 female boyfriend, 24 male, is very against me taking antidepressants after 10 years of what was diagnosed as mild depression while I was in high school. I have been dating my boyfriend Eli for nearly 2 years. Shortly before we had started dating, I had been considering taking antidepressants because I was just sinking into a hole of self-loathing and I had been lashing out at people who care about me, people I also care about. It's just general anger and the world and everything. I was immediately put off of considering taking antidepressants when Eli mentioned how they have screwed up women in his life, exes, his mother and grandmother specifically. Apparently, antidepressants changed these women and made them practically unrecognizable to him, to the point that he became sick feeling talking to me about it. I am not sure how to handle this anymore, as my depression has gotten worse over the past few years since coming to college. Eli can't understand why I am depressed, why I continue to be depressed. I've tried changing my diet, exercising 6 to 7 days a week, track and field athlete at my uni, and trying therapy. Nothing works the way I want it to. I am tired of hating everything. I am tired of feeling like I'm better off not existing. I've explained this to Eli and he is still very against it. So much so that last night, when I told him I intended to take antidepressants that have worked for other members of my family, he said, "I've watched so many girls in my life wither under the effects of antidepressants while I've watched in horror. I am not interested in watching you become a muddled down version of you. I've no interest in." I am at a loss as to what to do. He told me he was sick this morning because of our conversation last night. I don't know how to proceed. If I need to try to understand him better or if he needs to understand me. I'm open to any advice I will receive on how to handle this or move forward. Thank you. Well, the first thing I'm going to say is that if you've worked with your therapist about this and you are well aware of the side effects of whatever medication you are going to take, then it is your decision to make. And on this point, I've got to say, your boyfriend sounds incredibly manipulative, telling you how sick he feels because of the conversation about you wanting to take antidepressants to just feel better about your life. Honestly, the fact that he knows that you have depression, because I'm going to assume you've told him since you want to take antidepressants, and he's trying to tell you not to do it because of how he would feel, yeah, sounds incredibly selfish and not the kind of attitude a proper boyfriend would actually have. Because I'd assume a good boyfriend would want to support you in this kind of endeavor considering what you're going through. Look, I have no idea what happened to the people that he knows and he says they became a muddled down version of whatever and he doesn't want to see you become that way because he wouldn't be interested in you. You know what? That's not good for you, OP. You just do what feels better for you, and maybe you need to have a really hard conversation with Eli about your future together. And what do you guys think about OP's situation? How would you deal with it? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Steve353 says, "You need to do what's best for your health first. If that means taking antidepressants for yourself, take them. Your boyfriend isn't a doctor and different drugs affect different people in different ways. Stop letting your boyfriend make your health decisions for you. If nothing else has worked for your depression and your doctor recommends you trying antidepressants, then try them out. Worry about how they change you after you can manage your depression." DRH Dez says, "Your boyfriend is not a doctor. Do what a doctor tells you to do. If a mentally healthy person is a deal breaker for him, then too bad. You shouldn't compromise your mental health for anybody. Do what is best for you." And OP responds, "Yeah, I was a little confused as to why he was implying my mental health wasn't very important. He was aware I had depression before we began dating. Thank you for your advice, DRH Dez." The darkest beer says, take the damn pills first and foremost. Talk to your doctor and be aware that different kinds of dosages work better for different people. So you may need to experiment a bit. Don't let him convince you that if round one isn't great, you should scrap the whole idea. You could ask him what specifically he's worried about. I don't know if he's told you more, but I'd be shocked if anyone in his life who's ever taken SSRIs withered in the same way. I'd bet that his imagination and fear is filling in a lot of gaps here. And finally, quote, the person you're interested in right now hates her life and herself. I'm not interested in continuing this way, and I'm going to try everything possible to help. I hope that you'll support me in that. End quote. And Opie responds, Doc and I have spoken about the specifics already and have a good plan outlined, starting low and working my way up if I do not get results after a month or two at that dosage. I'm very comfortable with the outline of this plan and trust my doctor a great deal. I will do my best to stand firm with my boyfriend. I was considering not even telling him when I start taking them and seeing if he notices a change at all in my behavior, but I feel like it would be unfair to not keep him informed. I had a feeling he wouldn't be supportive of my decision, but I wasn't really expecting him to be so against it to become physically ill. I will ask him what he's specifically worried about. He is known to be manipulative, so I'm wondering if this is his way of keeping some control over me. Either way, thanks so much for your advice, The Darkest Beer. I appreciate it. Additional information from Opie's comments. I've been trying not to get too hopeful about the medication. I often think of having depression as being like only being able to see black and white while everyone else can see in color. I would love to regain my independence by finding the medication that works best for me. I used to be insanely independent, but that has changed over the past couple of years. I agree that he is being selfish and is acting manipulative. He's been calling me wifey lately because he said he wants to marry me. I think this may be affecting my decision a little as well. I really care about my boyfriend, but he's not the cure to my depression. Not like I'd expect anyone to be, though. Still, I think his fear of losing me is overwhelming him and making him act out in this way, but I'm not really sure. He does make things about him a lot when they are really my issues. It would be great if my boyfriend would be supportive of me taking antidepressants. I've even said to him, I'd really appreciate if you'd supported this decision or at least not say anything against it. I feel like you will not support it or will be against it. Then he immediately goes full-on anti-med mode on me. The worst part is that he is part of the reason I am depressed, and I don't think he gets that. I think he believes it's all my parents' fault. However, it's hard to think he doesn't understand me as a person, how he doesn't want to and how he doesn't care about my suffering. Sex does mean a lot to him and a bit to me too. Yes, a possible side effect of taking medication is a lower sex drive, but I wouldn't think it would mean so much to him that he would be willing to sacrifice my mental health over it. That's a point worth making to him. I guess one of my biggest problems is that I don't care deeply for many people, so when I do find a person I cherish deeply, it is hard for me not to put them before myself, often for whatever reason. So I think I always make up excuses for him just because of this. He's also my first serious boyfriend, so maybe that influences me to some degree. To be frank, I have tried breaking up with him before, but he always pulls me back in. I am the bad guy in our relationship despite a lot of things that I cannot post about that he does. 2 years of ups and downs. My original intent when informing him of this was because we were talking about my depression and how frustrated I am that I allow so many little things to break me down. I mentioned that I was going to try to better myself by trying antidepressants, and it turned into a full-blown argument. I was actually hoping he would be able to tell me if I was acting differently in a bad or good way, but after his reaction, I'm not sure I could count on him to be honest about that. Thank you for all the wonderful advice. I have decided that I'm going to continue to do whatever I want with the guidance of a professional, but I am going to lay down the law on Eli. I will get blood work done in the next couple of weeks before beginning medication. Smiley face, coffee. I'm hoping that he will be willing to weather the storm, but if he is not, then he has definitely been a waste of my time and his. As long as he makes an effort and I can see that effort, I will not be too upset with him. Haha. Alright, well, the community definitely came through for OP and gave her enough advice that actually makes her want to do this thing and just maybe put Eli on the penalty box. She's definitely ready to make the right decision when the time comes if that happens. So now, let's move on to the update to see how this story ends, but before that, if you're enjoying my video and my content in general, go ahead and click that like button and why not that subscribe button too so you can see my videos every day on your home feed. Now, let's move on to that update. It's been a year since my original post, and Eli and I are both a year older now than before. Imagine that. So, I began taking my antidepressants a few months after the original post was made. I went through more therapy to be absolutely certain that I needed the medication. My therapist used the same multiple choice test on my feelings and symptoms twice, pre-test and post-test, to determine that nothing had changed or gotten better over the course of 3 months or so. I began taking 10 milligrams a day of an antidepressant and sensed it changed fairly quickly. It took 3 to 4 weeks to kick in fully, but I think I started feeling it around 2 weeks. I am so much happier than before, and I do not think about my life ending 3 to 5 times a week anymore. Now that I write that, I rarely think about it at all. The things that used to seem like mountains are now just little molehills. I cannot fully express how I wish I had considered taking medication earlier. I feel like I wasted years of my life being so disgustingly unhappy. To be honest, I didn't tell him until months later, but apparently he saw my post and thought I started taking them immediately after I made the first post, but I didn't. So he was really mad at me when I came clean to him about it a couple of months or so ago and told me I'd been taking them for nearly a year. And I was like, what? No, I haven't. He didn't believe me, it seemed. I don't know. It was really strange. He, backtracked on everything he told me and tried to act like it went differently than it did. He told me at one point before I took antidepressants that they make you forget things, and I hate not remembering. I feel like he may have been exploiting that. I really don't know. I truly believe he is a good and kind person, but I was really bad for him and he wasn't good for me. You know how some people bring out the best in you? Well, we brought out the worst in each other, I'm afraid. I know Elo's worry was that I would change in some way because of what people in his life had gone through. But I think they didn't have good therapists or doctors and were indeed never taking medication that worked well for them. He had a right to be concerned, but he also acted like he was thoroughly educated on them just from second-hand experience with others. My therapist and I haven't really talked about what my exact diagnosis is because I was diagnosed with mild depression in high school and I knew it had gotten worse since going to college. I didn't really want to hear how bad it was from a professional standpoint. I just wanted to take it on and crush it. Haha. I used to fantasize about not having responsibilities, worries, etc. Sometimes socializing is just a lot, and socializing with large groups is still hard for me at times because it runs me down so fast, but I'm getting better. And about Eli and his take on meds, I think the people in his life on which he based his opinions didn't have good therapists or doctors and were indeed never taking medications that worked well for them. And because of this, he gaslighted me, whether he realized it or not. Many of my friends noticed this behavior long before I did. So, just earlier this week, I broke up with Eli because I would be moving away for a job and I was no longer happy with the way the relationship was going. I still care about him immensely, and because I care about him so much, I knew it was best to cut things off if I could not see the relationship progressing further after 3 years of dating. Thanks again to all of you wonderful people who've helped me out with some advice. I'm super excited to start a new chapter in my life. Well, OP, considering you broke up and all of that, I'm still gonna count this as a happy update. Like you said, sometimes you just bring out the worst in